Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your support of Christian Science Nursing. Broadview has answered the midnight call of Christian Science Nursing for scores of individuals this year. In fact, we provided service for more than 9,600 patient days. With oil in our lamps trimmed and ready, your Christian Science Nursing staff immediately met each need. In an article titled Waymarks by Mary Baker Eddy, she writes, "The best spiritual type of Christly method for uplifting human thought and imparting divine truth is stationary power, stillness, and strength. And when this spiritual ideal is made our own, it becomes the model for human action." This spiritual ideal is the model for Christian Science Nursing. It's the coincidence of the human with the divine, meeting every human need. In the words of Christian Science nurses on staff, here are a few ways in which they express the spiritual ideal spoken of in Waymarks. I acknowledge that I can support the patient by my faith that all things are possible to God, a spiritual understanding of Him, and unselfed love. I'm endeavoring to support Broadview's mission by keeping clearly in mind there is only one mind, God, and His allness, that everybody involved in this work has a singleness of purpose, and that is to witness healing power. I meet the patient's care needs with the Christ, moment by moment. I pray to see as divine love sees, and to know as divine mind knows, to look away from the body into truth and love, and to know that God fills all space. These nurses are wonderful, aren't they? When a patient comes to Broadview, they engage a journalistic Christian Science practitioner to pray for them. We provide spiritually based care in an atmosphere that supports healing. Christian Science practitioners give metaphysical treatment that heals. Mrs. Eddy writes in Science and Health, "Jesus sent a message to John the Baptist, which was intended to prove beyond a question that the Christ had come. Go your way, and tell John what things ye have seen and heard, how the blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, to the poor the gospel is preached." In other words, tell John what the demonstration of the divine power is, and he will at once perceive that God is the power in the messianic work. We know the Christ has come, and we have seen God's power at work in many healings at Broadview. Of patients who were bedfast and are now walking and independent, of pain lifting, of breathing difficulties disappearing, a shortened limb elongated, of immobility yielding to freedom of movement, of eating problems surrendering to true nourishment, of complex bandaging needs being eliminated, of patients who were incapacitated when they arrived at Broadview are now at home expressing joy and dominion. Divine love has cast out fear, dissolved resistance to activity, anger towards Christian Science, misunderstandings in relationships, and aggressive behavior. Patients have found clarity of thought, receptivity, companionship, family, and safety. The stationary power, stillness, and strength I mentioned earlier is exemplified by this situation. A patient's breathing was intermittent and shallow. The Christian Science nurse sat quietly by his bedside and prayed. She gave the report to his practitioner and then continued to pray, careful not to give him a treatment. She was the expression of stationary power, stillness, and strength. The patient began breathing normally. He opened his eyes. They smiled at each other. She asked if he wanted to go to the testimony meeting, and he said yes. During the meeting, he reached his hand out and held the hand of the person sitting next to him. This was unusual because he was not one to readily attend activities, interact with others, let alone hold somebody's hand. Later, two of your Christian Science nurses will read testimonies from individuals who called upon the manual bylaw for Christian Science nurse, came to Broadview, and were healed. In closing, I'd like to read a poem written by G.P., a grateful patient. Precious hands, loving heart, you into my room and practice comfort's art. Your gratitude attitude make me feel we're just here to bless and heal. My warmest thanks are poor return, a heavenly reward you've earned.